Good evening. Let's see. Hey, Sue. Nadja, nice to see you. Christian. Hey, Nicole. Hope everyone's had a good start to the week. It's been interesting getting back to work, hasn't it? Like after just having time off with a new rhythm that kind of establishes itself when you're off from work, and then you kind of get thrown back into doing, and just have to be somewhere at a certain time and have to do things in a certain way. It's kind of jarring sometimes to have that change forced upon you in a way. It is strange. We spoke about it, me and my fiance, just yesterday, that we spend, like, when she goes to work she leaves at 7:45 and she'll come back at 5:00 in the afternoon. And then, like I said, we wake up, the kids wake us up at 6, and then you have barely 2 hours where you wake up and try to get everyone 1.5 hour, 2 hours to get ready. And then you leave and you're away doing something for someone else. And then you come back and you pick up the kids and you make food and you make sure everyone's okay. And then 2 hours later you put them to bed. And then it takes an hour for them to sleep. And then you have 1 hour for yourself. And then you sleep. And then it starts over again. It's really a bizarre thing if you think about it, that you spend so much time doing something for someone else. Hopefully you enjoy your work. I mean, hopefully, really. Because if you don't, then yeah, that kind of sucks. I think about people who have like double or triple jobs and just to make ends meet. Like that's rough. Hey, Jethro, nice to see you. And like I said, hopefully you find that your job, whatever it is you do, is something that you enjoy or at least tolerate. And there's always work to be done with enjoying what you're doing and how to be comfortable with where you are. But some workplaces obviously can be quite toxic, and it can feel bad that when I spoke to a friend who was burnt out much worse than I was, and she was saying that she really hit the wall hard and just couldn't function at all. She couldn't unload the dishwasher. It took her a day to unload the dishwasher, just didn't manage. And she said as soon as like she had gotten her sick leave and the company had done what they needed, they just like threw her out. She was like nothing. It was like nothing. Yeah, they had no connection to her at all. And that's kind of sad, because you put so much into it. So hopefully, I'm fortunate that I'm in a workplace where they actually do care about us. Hey, Mats. Yeah. What about you guys? What have you been up to the first week? Has it been a good week? Anything fun happen? Any interesting meditation thoughts? I kind of missed JVB because he always had these like really fun, weird questions that were good. Actually, they weren't weird. They were just really good, normal questions, I think. I tend to just launch into a monologue here, unless you guys interrupt me and just ask something. Or if you have a topic you thought about, something that's kind of been on your mind. There's a lot of ways that you can approach practice, and it's nice to talk about it sometimes to see how other people think about it. Like how a job, for instance, how do you view your role at work compared to your role at home, and how does that feel differently when you're at home and you have something that creates distortion, and when you're at work with something that creates distortion? Is it different? Does it stress you differently? Does it make you feel more engaged with your reality around you when you're doing something for someone else? Mats, rough start to the week, but now I'm feeling awesome again. That's nice. Awesome it's like a good place to be. And I think there is something to be said about, like I said in the beginning, when you change rhythm, if you have a vacation or you're doing something and then you get back, it can be an adjustment period. Jethro, anger. Any thoughts on meditation around times when there is more anger than usual? Anything in particular, Jethro? Times when there is more anger than usual. Is it any particular thing that is making you angry, or is it just that you generally just have general anger? Kind of. Is it directed or just general, unspecific? Nicole, I am not sure I understand by distortion. So distortion is my way of expressing a very like quick way of explaining is that we have how we experience reality, what reality is like. And when I say reality, I mean our life story. So reality, I'm going to work. Like I need to go to work in the morning, and my desire for my reality is I want to stay in bed. Now, when these two don't match, like there's this incongruence in between. There's like a tension, a friction. Like you can feel the pressure. Like when you want to lie in bed, but reality is that work starts in a few minutes, so you need to go. Now, when they don't match, there's this thing happening here in between. We tend to try to fix reality by saying, okay, I'm just going to quit my job. I mean, obviously, lie in bed, like it doesn't push on anything, so no problem. Or we say change your attitude, like, oh, you actually convince yourself you want to go to your job, or say that, oh, you're so lucky to have a job. But we're trying to work with this thing here in between, and in almost all spiritual practices, self-development in particular, try to change these two. Religion tends to work with your beliefs. Change your beliefs about things and then things will get easier. Personal development, just get better at doing stuff and you'll have less of this. I kind of say, well, both of those two are good things, but in the end, like you have to work directly with this thing in the middle. And if you ask me, that's what Buddhism calls suffering, or dukkha. Dukkha is the term that is translated in Buddhism into suffering. Now, suffering is, everything is suffering. So everything has this distortion, and that this is a really profound topic that we could go into very nuanced detail, because there is a sense of pressure or distortion towards everything around you. I'm talking color, textures, light, I mean, everything has a specific sense of pressure or distortion. So by working directly with this, we can let go of the suffering without having to change these two. But at the same time, it's a really good idea to try to improve your life, or to change your beliefs about what you think life needs to be like. But it's a folly to try to become fulfilled or ultimately happy by changing your reality, because you will always want more. I mean, it's never going to stop. That was like a just quick explanation of it. Sue, I get that Jethro, the dogs that come... I get that, Jethro. The dogs that come to my daycare, but the owners can be challenging sometimes. Oh, okay, I get it. Jethro Bradley, I'm feeling more frustration with life and my situation than usual, and having more doubt about the point, value of meditation as a result. So, I haven't stopped meditation altogether. This is a really good point, Jethro. I'm happy you brought that up. One of the problems when we try to start a meditation practice is that we, again, I say this, what is your motivation for meditating? The best would be if you just meditated because it was like, just trust me, bro, it's good. But obviously you need to feel like you're getting somewhere with it. But if you go into meditation thinking that, oh, my reason for meditating is that, okay, so I have anger, so maybe you have some pain that's coming up and that's making you angry because they're doing something that triggers some pain from the past that makes you angry. Now, it would seem the progression in meditation would be, oh, I feel less pain. I'm progressing. It's working. It's like, it's going this way. That's not quite how it works, because it will feel, sometimes it goes like, whoa, I feel no pain at all. I just feel really happy, and like all these things are happening around me, and like I'm not affected at all. It's just so easy. Why didn't I see life like this the whole time? And then all of a sudden just, oh, wait a minute. Hey, I'm meditating. It's not working. Hey, get up there again. Like, wait. It's like, it's really deep down. It just disappears. That's not actually meaning that you've failed. That's kind of what happens. I mean, okay, obviously, hopefully it doesn't go down that deep, but it kind of goes like this. It's like in a way like this. So a much better approach would be to have the instead of doing meditation to get that specific outcome. I mean, obviously that's what you're working towards, but instead of having that as the way you measure if it's working or not, it would be better to measure it by your input, like how much you're able to input, meaning that you need to give it time. So you'll see over time that you don't get so affected by these things, and you won't get as angry, and it'll be easier to handle pain. It'll be easier to handle when people come at you from all angles and things get difficult. That doesn't mean you won't be affected by it. It doesn't mean you still won't go into those patterns, but you won't be as affected by it. So instead of measuring the direct outcome, because that's something you can't really control, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you'll just be in a bad mood. There seems to be patterns happening inside of us that we just have very little influence over. I mean, call it the stars, call it the gods, whatever. Like, I don't think so, but there just seems to be a rhythm inside that just happens whether you like it or not. So a much better way of seeing if it's actually working for you is to focus on your ability to just be consistent. If you just say, okay, I'm going to meditate every day. Doesn't matter. Sometimes you sit and it's amazing and like, oh, it feels so good. Don't think, okay, I'm succeeding. I'm nailing it now. Instead, focus on, oh yeah, I'm sitting. That's what I'm supposed to do. The next day is really difficult and it doesn't really work, but you still sat. Maybe you didn't sit 20 minutes. Maybe you just said 1 minute, but at least you sat down and you did what you could at that time. If you keep doing that and don't focus on the specific outcome in that I want to feel less anger, then you will see that the trajectory will be like this. So that's just like as a focusing point, because you said you had problems with your motivation, I think, or did I read that wrong? Anger used to be my problems. I haven't oh wait, sorry, now let's see here. Just I haven't stopped meditation altogether. Yeah. So, like I said, don't stop because you feel that it isn't working, because it really is ups and downs. I remember especially when I began and I used to go to longer retreats, I would sometimes come there and sit, and I'd start and like, yeah, I know this stuff. Like I've been meditating now for half a year, like 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours per day. Like I'm pretty good at this stuff. I thought that, and I'd sit and it would just feel like I'd sit for a while and just like the stomach just dropped out from underneath my feet, and I felt like I'm worthless. I can't do anything. Why am I a monk? I don't understand this. I'm terrible. I'm just completely, I don't get this at all. And I got this severe sense of like, I don't understand what's happening. That's just like the dark night of the soul, it's called. It's something you can fall into sometimes. And then I'd go down, and then I'd come out of that, and then it would work again. It would feel better again. If I would have thought there, this is not working, and I would have actually believed all that stuff, or if I would have let my anger pull me away and believe that, okay, see, this is not working. Your meditation isn't working. You're still angry, like you're a failure. This is not working at all. You should just stop doing this. Then you're never going to get past that. So this wasn't actually how to approach the anger. This is more of how do you deal with the lack of willingness to continue, or the lack of motivation to continue, kind of. So I meant the dogs are great. The owners can be challenging. Anger used to be my problem, as I have PTSD, but the meditation now takes me out of anger. Yeah, sometimes. And if it doesn't, that doesn't mean that your particular way of meditating isn't working. People have that so often. They and I'm not pointing this at you, so people have that many times. They focus so much on the outcome, and when it doesn't work the way they want it to, they believe it's kind of like okay, this is the bell, and if I always hit it at the same angle, it makes a sound, right? So every time I do that, it should make the same sound. That's like physics. That's not how meditation works. It's not that direct. You'll be hitting that bell, but we're not after the sound. We're after something else, kind of. A more long-term change. Let's see. Jethro, Sue, it's always the owners. Dogs can't help it. Yeah. Jack, good evening, Martin. Hey, Jack. Nice to see you again. Christian, I joined the gym this week. Try the 5-4-3 method there. Interesting. Oh, what happened? Sue, I'm used to working and training experienced dog handlers where the dog comes first. I find normal pet owners put themselves before the dog, which makes me angry. Dogs never expect anything but love. That's really interesting, actually. I haven't thought about that, but that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Jethro, thank you for your answer, Martin. That was all useful. You're welcome. Sometimes I kind of ramble off on directions that might not be exactly what people answer, but I always try to think what's behind kind of the question, and also where do you ultimately want to go? People many times ask, like, how do I deal with this conflict or that? And that's not really important to me. I'm more interested in the thing happening behind that can make it so that you can understand it yourself, why this is happening, and then make it easier the next time. And this is really, what I just mentioned here is a big thing. It happens to a lot of people, that we're so focused on a specific outcome, and we might get that outcome at first, and then we don't, and we think we're doing something wrong, when in fact it's just, I mean, if you just meditate long enough, you'll see that's just how it works. It's not a linear advancement in your practice. It's quite the opposite. It's really a bit of a roller coaster. That's why I always used to say, if you go to the Goenka retreats, the 10-day retreats, Vipassana retreats, which I highly recommend to everyone who wants to just try a bit more intensive practice. I called it a roller coaster. It's like going to Disney World. You go there, you strap in, you get your food, you leave away all your things, your telephones, and then you're just like, okay, it's time to meditate, and you sit, and it's really like you don't have to do anything. You're just on the roller coaster. You can't get off. Well, you have to jump off, but that's like, not supposed to jump off. And then you just kind of get carried away and carried along for the ride, because it really is a ride. Nice. Thank you for asking some questions and having some thoughts, because it makes it easier for me to come up with something that's useful to say. I love having different angles and thoughts, and for me it's really useful to see what people are thinking about. Sometimes it's difficult because it's just so obvious to me that I don't even think about it. It's just, well, of course that's how it works. Like I said, the whole idea that practice should go like this, it's just so wrong. You have no idea. And yet a lot of people believe that, and I hear that all the time. Oh, I feel so good now, my meditation is working, I got this nailed down, I figured it out, I know how to meditate. And they're like, yeah, I understand meditation, yeah, it's working now, kind of. They say they have no problems. Like, yeah, but just wait a few weeks, days, months, years. It's not going to be like that. Christian, so many impressions, but my heart rate went down and I felt muscles really focused. Yeah, it's a good way to come back to the senses and see, because otherwise you could have been at the gym. I think that was where you were, right? And you would have been in the story, what are people looking at me, or how am I looking? I would look at the people around me. How much can I lift? Am I a failure or successful? Instead of doing all of those stories, imagine how much simpler it is to exist by just thinking, grabbing handle, feeling the pressure, feeling the metal or the plastic, and then pulling. Oh, look at what all the things happening with my muscles, and then you pull it down and you let it up. Oh, that's interesting. And then you hear a clunk, there's a sound, and like, oh, that's really interesting to feel that as well. And then you do it again, and then you feel pain somewhere, and you're like, imagine just having to focus on that, instead of, I have neck problems, I have this kind of problems, I'm fat, I'm too skinny, I need to be more muscular, I'm too muscular. Well, maybe not many people think that, because you usually don't get too muscular unless you really want to. So it's all about simplifying and making life more enjoyable by not eliminating your life story, because it's still there, but eliminating the focus on the life story. And that's the same with what Jethro was saying here as well. If you focus on the story of your meditation, then yeah, you want to have a progression like this. You want it to go that way. You want to have it so that if you succeed, you're going to get some kind of result, and then ultimately you're going to get enlightened, and then everything's going to be awesome. We don't really know what enlightenment is. I mean, it's going to be awesome, obviously, but like, I don't know what it is, and then they don't know, but I think it's like this, and like it's going to be some amazing feeling, and I'm kind of heading toward. That's the story. The actual experience of meditation is just sitting down, breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. That's really all it is. But with the story, it becomes something else, and that's more difficult to handle. So, cool, really good questions and thoughts. Thank you. I appreciate it. So for those of you who are new, we generally have a chat it's supposed to be 5 minutes, but it tends to be 20 minutes, half an hour, and we just talk about something that people find interesting. Then we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a technique for coming back to your senses. Really good if you know someone who's having I've done this in life with people who literally are having panic attacks. I had it in one guy on a plane one time he was having, I'll tell the story one time, not today, but he had a panic attack, and he was so believing he was going to die that he gave me his telephone with the code and said, call this number and tell her I love her. Like, that's how much panic he had. And we did this exercise, and then he didn't magically feel better, but it really did help him to come back. So it's a good exercise to come back to your senses and calm yourself down. After that, we sit for 20 minutes. Today is Thursday, so there's no guided meditation, but we sit together, and then afterwards there's another question and answer, or just thoughts if you have anything you want to discuss. Hey, Mindful Mama, nice having you here. So, I'm happier living without expectations with anything. It's so peaceful, and I just deal with the present. Yeah, and that's a really good way of approaching life, not having too many expectations, or what's another word? Expectations is a good word, but also desires for a specific outcome. But is there a word for that? Like, not having specific desires for the outcome. Is that expectations? Is that what it is? Or is there another word for describing that? Meaning not needing life to go too much in one direction. And it's very, I think I have this on overdrive. That's why I have gotten so much into meditation, because it's so clear that when I meditate, that's easier. And I'm not so like, I need to get over there. If I just get there, life will be better. Mindful Mama. Yeah. Okay. So we'll say first out aloud 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and finally 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea is to focus on the senses. So when I look at something, say it out loud, and it's not about doing it quickly, but really focusing on using your senses. And we try to break down what we look at. So I'm looking at this microphone hanging here, but I'm not saying, oh, well, I can say that. I mean, obviously I know it's a microphone, but that's still a concept and an idea and a feeling. Okay, I know what a microphone feels like. It's not dangerous to me unless there's electricity in it. It can be scary because what I'm saying can be picked up, and I have to be careful if I'm going to tell a secret. Okay, so those are feelings towards it. But what I'm really trying to see is just the shape, the texture, the light, how it's reflecting, and the colors, what the nuance of the colors, not whether like a color I like or don't like, but just really seeing, breaking down, instead of saying I see a microphone, to see the textures on the microphone. I say out aloud I see a microphone, but what I'm really looking at is not a microphone. I'm seeing all these metal pieces, and there's like shapes and letters, colors, textures, curved things. And I can see how my imagination tries to fill in the blank, because we just see in 2D, right? We just see this part here. And then the mind tries to fill in, okay, I know what this looks like behind. There's a cord coming out. So just simplifying it down to its smallest particles or details. I see a remote control. I see a pen. I see a snowflake. I can see a graph. Five things that I could see. I would take 4 things that I can feel. So I can feel this cup, and I'm feeling the warmth, I'm feeling the smoothness, I'm feeling the texture of it, what it's like. This is kind of, if you look at non-duality, the way they try to do this, again, if you've listened to me a long time, I disagree quite adamantly against the non-dualistic approach. What they say is like, this cup doesn't exist. It's just a concept. I mean, obviously it exists, it's here. That doesn't mean it's ultimately like something else, but like from our experience, this is a cup. But we're not trying to observe the cup. We're trying to observe the different, would that be? The smallest particles, or the actual sensations of the cup? And I think what they're trying to do by saying it doesn't exist is to not view it as a cup, but to view it as like all this light, the colors, the reflections, the curves. Same thing when we're feeling, we're just trying to feel, not glossy. Well, we put words to it, but actually experiencing. What does that feel like when it's smooth? What does that feel like the actual tactile sensation? So we're focusing on those things instead of the big concepts of what it is. I can feel the liquid in my mouth. Jethro, ambition. Yeah, that's interesting to what we said before. I can feel my sock, or it's my I'm not sure what this is. It looks really cool on the camera. That's a bit sticky. Finally, I can feel my knee. What we tend to do when we say I feel is that we feel, okay, I feel my knee, I put my hand there, okay, I feel it, and then we just zoom out into something else. So we don't actually experience feeling. What does it feel like to feel the knee? Instead, we just do it, and then kind of we're off to the next thing. I'm not that familiar with tantric sex and tantric practice, but I know a little bit about it, and that's basically using something that's very engaging and being really, because there's a lot of nice sensations, and we really, well, like, what does it feel like to just sit face to face to someone, and you can close your eyes and just feel them, or feel, what does it feel like when someone touches you and just runs their fingers along your arm, and just, what does it feel like, not with the expectation we're going to make love, but just having someone touch you and feel what that feels like. We, especially men, I have to say, we tend to be really poor at that because we want to jump ahead to the next thing. But really staying present and feeling what all the sensations feels like is something that's really enjoyable. And it's really part of becoming more aware of your experience of reality rather than the story of your reality. So those were 4 things that we could feel. Next, 3 things that we can hear. And here, try to listen for nuances in the sound. Again, it's not just about naming what it is, but really listening to what it is that you hear, and what does that sound like? Really staying with that sound. So I can hear. I hear the sound of tires on wet tarmac, asphalt. It's also important that you don't kind of tense up and try to, oh, what am I hearing? Like focusing, like this is, because now you're creating here and I'm looking with my hearing, like really just, we're aiming for relaxed. A sense of not distorting towards things, not feeling the separation is very relaxed. Like your body is extremely relaxed. So I can hear the fan, the heater running. And I hear the wind from the fan running over those little grates. I hear the compressor running outside. There's a rumbling, low rumbling noise in the walls. Three things that we can hear. Next, we have 2 things that we can smell. Senses we rarely use, smell and taste. Well, except for when we're eating, for the smell, taste at least. There's a fruity scent. It's almost like a burnt scent from the heater. Even though it's an induction heater, it smells kind of like heated up air. It has a special scent. There's two things we can smell, and finally we have one thing that we can taste. Mats hears the fan noise. I'll try to put it on silent mode. I taste I think it's white pepper. We had I made homemade mashed potatoes earlier. I think it's white pepper that I can taste. feel free to keep on sitting if you feel like it, or drink a cup of tea. If you have any more thoughts, questions, or things you'd like to discuss, I'm here for another 10 minutes or so. Starting to get tired though. Jethro was saying ambition without any ambition. Ambition sounds like if you have no ambition, that means you're like not trying to get anywhere. I guess the more feeling of I don't care, that's not really what it's about. It's not like, oh well, it doesn't matter. We're not aiming for whatever happens, I'm not going to care about anything. Or it's not really that. It's more a relaxed openness to anything is possible. And it doesn't have to be a specific way. Because there's not that negative feeling of having no ambition. Nadia, I always find the unguided meditations challenging. I just can't focus. What is it that... or let's start from the beginning. What do you do when there's no guided meditation? Do you do the breathing yourself, or do you just sit still, or how do you meditate? Nicole Bray, my monkey mind is all over the place. Yeah, that happens sometimes. And that's okay. I mean, it's not that... I think an important thing to think about when the mind feels like it's taking over is that most people are completely identified and gone with their monkey mind. So there's all these thoughts and they're like stuck in those. They follow these fantasies and just follow off. What's happening to you is that you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is happening. I'm trying not to go there, but you can't stop it. That's actually progression. Because normally most people wouldn't even be aware of it. We think it's so natural to just drift off and kind of half dream away. So the first part is realizing that you have a problem. So it's not a bad thing. I mean, that's just kind of what happens to begin with. And later on also, sometimes. Nadia, is being too tired to meditate a thing? So when I started out, I remember thinking my meditation works best. I think it was that I just couldn't meditate in the morning because I was too tired. Or it was the evening. I don't remember. Let's say it was in the morning. I can't meditate in the morning because I'm too tired. I sit down. I just keep having this. I just keep falling asleep. I couldn't stay awake. And we get up like very early. And then after a while, that just shifted. Like, whoa, there's no problem sitting in the morning. I love sitting in the morning. And then the evenings got more difficult. I'm too tired. The tiredness is part of the meditation. A very common thing for the mind to do is because, like the monkey mind, I don't want to like go there and now I feel bad because it just keeps on going. If you're actually going beyond that and you're like, okay, I'm gonna sit still, the mind goes like, okay, well, I can't distract her with the thoughts, so let's just put her to sleep. And then you just get super tired and the mind is like, ugh. And you're just, I can't be aware, and you sit like this and it's painful. I remember sitting like this, really, I mean, literally like my head falling like this, and I can't stay awake. And the time I really shifted my belief about that was when I was sitting like this. Oh, it's painful, I just want to sleep. I'm trying to. And all of a sudden my mind was completely clear. I wasn't tired at all. I'm like, what the heck? In other words, it's just something, I talk about this quite a lot, that there's just patterns happening. You have much less control over your state of mind than you think. We try to change our state of mind instead of trying to not be affected by the state of the mind. That's the problem, because there just seems to be these things going on. And part of the thing when you meditate is that there's a certain period where you just get really, really tired. And you just cannot stay awake. But if you just keep through it, eventually that will drop through. And that can go, when you go into an intensive retreat and meditate more, that will go faster. If you're doing it at home, it can be that lasts for quite a while. But I wouldn't say that you're too tired. And also, if you need sleep, then sleep. I mean, it's a good thing to sleep. I wish I could sleep more. I mean, sleeping is awesome. It's really cool. It's a superpower, if anything. So I don't know, well, if you're so tired you can't, and it's a personality also. I can function with extremely little sleep, like very little sleep. That doesn't mean that's a good thing to do. And some people, when they're tired, they just need to sleep. So it can be like a personal thing also. Nadia, I try to focus on a sound. Okay, what kind of sound? Is there a constant sound? Is it something you keep hearing? Because when you hear a sound, you can have like something playing in the background. I've used audiobooks. I've listened through the whole Harry Potter series twice by Jim Dale when he reads it, and just having that as a background sound and seeing, okay, am I distorting? Am I having reactions towards what I'm hearing? Do I want it to be a certain way? Do I not like what I'm hearing? And just using that as a way to meditate. So absolutely you can use sound, but then it's important you have a sound that's actually there. Mats, same for me, Nadia and Nicole. Christian, my mind is 90% bees right now. Okay, sorry, I didn't finish that. So what I was saying to I think it was Nicole, or the my monkey mind is all over, is that it's not on off. It's not that you either completely lost or you're super aware. It's more that much of the time when I'm sitting here now, I had some thoughts running about a frying pan, like, oh, I wonder where I'm searing the chicken, like a deli. Oh, okay. But I wasn't completely lost in that. I could still feel my breath, and I could still be aware of things around me. So my focus might have been, let's say, 50-50 for a while. And then sometimes it would shift, and it would be 70-30, 30-70, and then it would be like 10-90 and 90-10. Like, it can shift. So it's not on-off. And I think that's an important thing to see. You don't need to stop your thoughts. You can't stop your thought. They're going to be there. It's just that when you keep coming back over and over and over and over and over again, there is a stickiness to the mind. You don't have to strain so much, not have the mind go over. That's why when I do the guided meditations, I intentionally try to make it so that you come back, keep coming back. I say that all the time. Come back, be kind to yourself. Don't believe that being a good meditator means you're not drifting away. Being a good meditator means that you drift away and you're like, oh, I drifted away, perfect. And then you come back. It's again with this story of meditation. I'm an awesome yogi. I have no thoughts. I'm just so calm. That's a lie that doesn't exist. Instead, it's like this. And if instead you focus on how quickly or how many times even can I come back to whatever I'm focusing on. If that's sound, the more times, if you instead think of, if you instead focus on, rather than what we tend to do is like, oh, I drift off in my mind, I'm so terrible, I'm a bad meditator. If instead you would focus on, oh, I noticed that I drifted off in the mind. Awesome, that's one. Oh, I noticed again that I drifted away. That's really cool. Oh, again, 3 times. Oh, I did it again. I'm getting pretty good at this stuff. Oh, there it was again. And then I was again. Wow, this time I was gone 15 seconds, but now I notice it. Now I'm gone again. And now I'm again. If you would focus on that, it would be much, much easier to meditate. And it would be more correct also, because that's what a good meditator does. It's not that they don't disappear with their thoughts. It's that they notice they disappeared in their thought and then they come back. And the more they keep doing that, the more they get this... I call it stickiness of the mind, or it's called concentration meditation, or samatha. But it just means you have, the mind just doesn't need to work so much, and that is built not by like this, it just by coming back. I'm pointing here because I'm using the breath, but it could be hearing a mandala you're looking at. It could be you're doing a mantra yourself. Whatever it is. That's why, for instance, a mantra can be powerful, or many people believe it's powerful, because it's so strong that you always have something that vibrates and you feel that, so it's not so easy to drift away in your thought. It's just that it's not really something that's sustainable to do for like 8 hours or 10 hours per day. So those are more tricks that you can do now to come back, and then you can start meditating in something a bit softer. Mats, thanks for the meditation as always. I'm heading out to watch some Stargate. Awesome. Have a good night, everyone. You too, Mats. Did that make sense, Nicole, with the monkey mind and how to approach it? And Nadia also, I think it could be seen as the same thing with the sleep. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm failing, I shouldn't be so tired. Instead say, okay, I'm noticing I'm tired and I'm coming back. Whatever it is, like, focus on the coming back rather than the thing you think you're not supposed to do, because the thing you're think you're not supposed to do. That's just normal. That's what everyone does. It's just natural. I see it as something the mind does to try to distract you from actually being aware. There's all these things. The mind doesn't want to be here. The sense of you doesn't want you to let go of how important it is that life turns out specifically this way. It has to be this way, otherwise I cannot be happy. The mind doesn't want, the sense of self doesn't want that to happen, because there's inertia. It wants to continue that way. But the more you're able to let go of that, the more you're able to just focus on this thing right here, this little thing here, the feeling, I can feel that was one time, and now it's one more time, and now it's one more time. And when I do the guided meditations, I give you something to notice to make it easier for you, and you get that stickiness of the mind. And then when you sit by yourself, it'll be easier. And I keep interrupting you, like, hey, are you aware? Sometimes you don't even have to care about what I'm saying. I think a lot of people don't even listen to me. It's just that it's something like, oh, okay, yeah, I was supposed to be aware. I was not supposed to drift off. Good. Let's see. Nicole, yes, thank you. Thank you and good night. Good night, Christian. Yes, thank you, Martin. You're welcome, Nadia. Jethro, have to go and eat. Thanks, Martin. Good night, all. As always, awesome. I really enjoyed tonight. Really happy when people ask questions like this. If you have something that comes up during the week, feel free to just drop it, like when we have a guided meditation like this. And I'll see, actually, some of you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. That'll be really fun to see you face to face. Focus on enjoying, like really, all that we do. If you feel bad from your meditation because I'm not supposed to be a certain way, like that's going the wrong direction. Meditation is supposed to make you enjoy life more, really enjoy the experience of life, what's here right now, the small details that we talked about. So if it's not doing that, then there's something lacking. So focus on this weekend, like just being here, just enjoying the sensations around you, not the story of your life, but the sensations of your life. Thank you, and I'll see you on Monday.